Welcome to Married with Wrestling.
Introduce
I'm Susan.
ourselves.
This is Chris.
Hello. Again,
We are the show.
You're Married with Wrestling team.
Yes. We are back after a few week break.
A few week hiatus.
But we are back and ready to discuss WWE and AEW wrestling for the week.
And what an eventful week it was.
Not really that much in terms of AEW.
No, we'll get to AEW in a minute. Poor AEW.
Well, let's just jump right in. What's our first topic?
So we're going to go ahead and kick it off with the thing that kind of had everybody going. That's not Joe Hendry. Wyatt Six has finally made their long-anticipated debut.
And they killed co-workers.
Yes, and it looked like a murder scene whenever they debuted.
It was literally like everybody in Gorilla was dead.
Yeah,
Chad Gable was injured.
Yes. Like, there was Chad Gable.
There was a kill shot, it looked like, in video games where you, like, there's blood on the wall, but the body slumped down. So there was, like, a head kill shot done.
Yeah, there was blood.
Everywhere.
WWE has been showing some color lately, and I love it.
Yes.
They haven't been overdoing it. It's definitely been warranted when it's happened.
Yes. But whenever the Wyatt Six came out, though, I definitely got chills. Like, I knew that they were coming.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting. Mm-hmm. And I had seen pictures, because we watch our wrestling shows usually. We don't get to watch them live, really. We kind of watch them a day after.
Yeah.
So I saw the Wyatt Six, but it was, oh man, I still got chills whenever I actually saw them.
Well, what was funny to me was the way that they were introduced was the way that The Fiend used to come out, where they would bring down the lights. Mm-hmm. And what was funny is shortly before that, Jey Uso had just qualified for Money in the Bank, and everybody's just partying and eating with Jey Uso. They're singing his song. It's like a party, and then just boo, murder.
Yeah. It was very nice. I think I already said I got chills from it. Like,
what was cool
so
too is where WWE, like, once a show has been using that long shot where they follow somebody, they chose to use it for the Wyatt Six.
Yes.
And we just came across each member as we went further backstage.
It was so cool and creepy.
It was. And Gorilla was destroyed. There was, like, monitors everywhere. There was bodies all over the floor. Somebody in the live threads, I went back and looked, were trying to rack up a body count. They were like, well, Triple H has got to be dead because the Gorilla looks wiped out.
I was like, Triple H is dead.
People were like, well, Chad Gable's dead. But it was really cool. Everybody has masks. They all represent. I wish I would have wrote down who did what. Nikki Cross's sister Abigail.
Joe Gacy is the buzzard.
Huskus the pig.
The pig, dang it. There is
Dexter Loomis is the buzzard, I believe. Eric Rowan is Ramblin' Rabbit, and Bo Dallas is...
No, I think he's Taylor now.
Oh.
I don't know if he's Bo Dallas, because I heard people... his name is Taylor.
Uh-huh.
Taylor...
Taylor Rotunda?
That's his name
on
Instagram, and I heard people cheering, "Go Taylor."
Okay, well, we'll go with Taylor then.
Yeah.
He's Uncle Howdy.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was really cool. I'm really excited to see where it goes, because it's like, how do you deal with a murder in WWE? And the funny story, you told me this story, so I'm going to let you tell this story about what happened to Sami Zayn.
He was doing an interview, and a lot of the fans have been tweeting him, like, because he had just put out this thing about his comedy show, and he did a response, like, he left Raw early, he didn't know what was going on, but then he sent this tweet about his comedy show, and fans were like, your coworkers are dead, your coworkers are murdered, and you're talking about your comedy show. And he was just kind of like, I did not realize this was going on whenever I did it. And there's also something that Jey Uso came out, and for the longest time, well, not for the longest, where did they go that first had the Firefly lights for Jey Uso?
France.
Okay, so ever since then, he's had the Firefly lights, and he actually came out and said that he doesn't want the Firefly lights anymore, that the Wyatt Six can have that back, because he doesn't want any of that smoke, he said. So...
Yeah, I'm very interested to see who they feud with, who they choose to terrorize.
I'm very interested. I was very intrigued. I just got goosebumps, like, whenever because it was just so... you could tell that they were honoring Bray Wyatt, but they took in a direction that he never went.
Yeah, because they came out through the door. They did the door thing like Bray did at, was it Extreme Rules that he debuted, I think? Or re-debuted that he came back. It was Extreme Rules or something like that. It was a bigger show. Like a live event, or a premium live event. I think it was Extreme Rules, but I wouldn't swear to it. But anyway, they used the same door. And that's the door that like we walked through to start the long shot of going backstage. It's interesting because clearly they're not going to go after titles, which the Fiend probably never should have anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what this looks like.
And in a weird sense, I feel like they're good guys because they went after heels. So they murdered people, but they went after heels.
So they're the Punisher. This is what you're saying.
I don't know. I'm intrigued because it seemed like because Chad Gable is definitely not a good guy right now.
No. And what's funny is like Chad Gable was in the body count, and then I think last night Adam Pearce put out a tweet because originally I guess at some point Chad Gable was pulled from the Money in the Bank match. It was replaced with Ilya Dragunov, and then Adam Pearce put out a tweet and he was like, Chad Gable's been cleared for competition on Monday. And what was funny was because I was reading the comments from that, and everybody was like, oh man, Chad Gable was resurrected from the dead. And somebody else just commented, like, Jesus Gable. Like, and somebody else was like, man, what a recovery time from a case of death. Like,
but he wasn't really dead. He just had, like, his head was bloody.
I know. I just love that he's the one that we focused on, the one that we were for sure got.
Well, he was the one that was so mean earlier that day, though. Like, he was... So, I mean, he kind of had it coming, but not in a death way.
Yeah.
But it was so interesting, though. So I'm very intrigued to see what the White Six do.
That was really fun. And here's what makes this week fun. We're done talking about the Wyatt Six for now, but we still have another murder to report on. While the Wyatt Six on Raw is going to be wanted for murder, on SmackDown, Drew McIntyre committed his own murder.
I loved it.
So, going back to Clash at the Castle, which was a pretty fun show.
It was, yeah. There are a lot of botches, but but word is up, the ropes are slippery that night.
Yeah. Well, anyway, at Clash at the Castle, if you haven't seen it, Drew McIntyre had Damian Priest beat. The ref got knocked out. And then CM Punk ended up being the replacement ref, which it's kind of cool that I like that they did this behind the scenes thing where they kind of showed how CM Punk got a referee shirt. And he kind of just went to Jessica Carr and was like, "Hey, do you have an extra shirt?" She was like, "Yeah." And all the
just give out referee shirts.
Yeah, and all the comments that I saw were like, did they not wonder what he was going to do with that? Like, did nobody see who was in the ring, see him reach for that, and go, "Oh, wait a minute, this might not work out"? So CM Punk went out. He counted 1, he counted 2, and then he just quit. And Drew McIntyre ended up losing in Scotland. And then they showed some footage afterward. Drew McIntyre just went postal on everyone. He was dropping F-bombs, which was fantastic. WWE is adulting up every day, and I love it. So CM Punk returns to Chicago. And I was at a trivia thing last night, so I saw all this happen in mute. I didn't know what happened. You said it was a pretty good segment because Punk came out. He talked to Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman...
Well, he was talking at first.
From what I saw, he was just talking about how... I don't know
what he said.
I know what he said, because I saw the subtitles. He was talking about how... He was pretty much rubbing salt in the wound, like, hey, remember in 2011 at Money in the Bank, whenever I said I was going to win the title in my hometown, and I didn't embarrass Chicago? So he was definitely... He was picking that scab at Drew. But then Paul Heyman comes out. Paul Heyman's... They hug, which was a really nice moment. And then...
Heyman wants him to acknowledge Solo, and then... leave and take him with him.
Yeah. And CM Punk, of course, was like...
He acted like he was going to.
Yeah, and I think what he said was, I acknowledge that I'm not looking at the real bloodline right now, or something like that. And Heyman, of course, looks like, oh god, Punk's about to die.
Which that then let Solo know that Heyman doesn't want to be with them.
Yeah. So that sent Solo on a track, and... man, Paul Heyman, like, where the bloodline... Before, like, the first time around, Sammy brought all the intrigue until we got closer to the end of the story. All the intrigue right now lies with Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman, I've seen a few people say Paul Heyman is acting his ass off in this story.
Yes.
Like, he looks like a dude that is fearing for his life every day he goes to his job.
Yes.
And Solo dropped a little bit of knowledge on him, but we'll expand more on the bloodline later.
Let's focus on Drew and...
So, what's funny about this is I don't know what caused this to happen, but the trivia game that I was playing, last I saw was Punk and Solo talking. Solo was on the ramp, Punk was in the ring. Heyman was with Punk. I looked down for our team to answer a question. I look back up. Cody Rhodes is in the middle of the ring with a baseball bat, and I have no clue where the hell he came
Punk
from.
was getting gamed up on.
Okay.
With a bloodline, and Cody came to help.
Okay. And I love that Cody brought a bat.
Yes.
So then Cody and Punk run to the back, and then later on, we see this garage door open of some kind, and then CM Punk is just dead.
Drew McIntyre's standing over top of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Drew McIntyre's just looking down, and everybody's like, oh, Drew caught him finally.
I was like, this is awesome.
So Drew literally picks up Punk like a dead body, walks out with him, and just dumps him on the stage, which brings out Nick Aldis and all these people that are telling Drew McIntyre.
Which Drew had already said last week that he quit.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Drew had said on Monday that he quit.
Yes.
So he left Punk out there. Punk had blood on his head. Once again, more color. Awesome. So yeah, Drew McIntyre got some semblance of revenge. Mm-hmm. And I have to give these two credit for a feud this hot for two dudes that haven't even wrestled yet. That's pretty remarkable that they've been able to build this intriguing story that's been both funny and very, you're not sure. It's kind of starting to become a chicken and egg situation because I've seen a lot of people say, who's the bad guy in this scenario? Because, Drew keeps getting screwed, but Drew picked that fight. So everybody's like, nobody's sure where the alignment is right now, but it's fine because you're intrigued to see who comes out on top because they both have arguments to win this feud.
I've been very much enjoying Drew McIntyre in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't care about Punk, so I've just been really enjoying Drew in this. And I really enjoy when Punk gets the shit beat out of him.
I've enjoyed both sides of him.
Well, I know, you don't mind Punk. I still do not like that man at all. Mm-hmm. But Drew has been very entertaining.
Mm-hmm. It's been interesting. I think these two are going to finally cross up at SummerSlam, and the match is going to feel big. It's going to feel, because we've been building for a while, and this is the first time, really, that it's gotten super, super physical. Like WrestleMania, it did a little bit. At Clash at the Castle, Drew got his hands on Punk. Punk kicked him in the nuts, and that was the end of that.
Well, I mean, in their defense, they had to do this because Punk can't stay healed up.
Mm-hmm. So, it'll be very interesting. It's been a very, very fun feud. And Drew McIntyre's absolutely crushed it.
He has.
And I am excited for when Drew gets over that hump and finally becomes world champion.
I definitely forgot how fun Drew was as a heel because he's kind of boring as a babyface. Mm-hmm. He's so ridiculous as a heel, and I forgot that.
Yeah, he's definitely... And I love the trading of memes. Like, Drew McIntyre posted that meme at the cemetery that said CM Punk's WrestleMania main event. Well, now Punk responded after Clash at the Castle with a picture of him by a tombstone, and on the tombstone it's just Drew laying on the ground at Clash at the Castle. So it's been fun to watch these barbs trade back and forth, and it seems like these two have really had fun working together because they've really made it work online. Like I said, for two dudes that haven't yet gotten in the ring and had an official match, this feud's cooking, and that's a really, really good thing that you can take a story like that and make it cook, and they can't even wrestle. Okay, so switching gears away from murder, we kind of alluded to it earlier with Jey Uso, so let's talk about Money in the Bank a little bit. First of all, I like the graphics with the thieves and stuff. It's different. They haven't done anything like that for Money in the Bank.
The money noise it makes, though. I don't like that because it distracts me. What?
It distracts you?
Yes, and then I have to watch them run across the screen.
Oh, Lord. Well, anyway, they've been doing qualifying matches in triple threat format, which has been really fun. Mm-hmm. But so far we have 5 participants, so...
Well, not in the same... There's
3 men, 2 women so far. So far for our men, the ones that have qualified was Jey Uso qualified on Monday. Io Sky qualified on Monday also, so Io Sky is returning back in. Last night, Andrade qualified, which was a surprise.
Grayson Waller.
Grayson Waller, Kevin Owens. You thought Grayson Waller might get in. I think that's what you said, was you were like, I think Grayson Waller's going to win this.
Is it? I thought Kevin Owens was going to win, actually.
Yeah, and I didn't think Kevin Owens was going to win because he's still wrapped up with the bloodline.
I didn't think Andrade was going to win, basically.
Yeah, and Andrade did win, and Andrade's been in the Money in the Bank ladder match before, and he did some insane shit, so I'm ready for him to be back.
It's shaping up to be really good match.
It is. The other male that qualified last night, you watched this match. I didn't get to see this match. Carmelo Hayes qualified for Money in the Bank, which will be really fun and good for Carmelo Hayes.
The female is what I'm really excited about.
Females. So, last night we had, who was it? Bianca Belair, Chelsea Green, and who was the third? It was whoever Chelsea Green pinned. Because I remember Bianca didn't take the pin.
I don't remember.
Michin.
Oh, yes.
And out of those three, I stopped watching the match when I was at trivia because I was like, Bianca's winning this. It's Bianca.
Yeah.
I look up just in time to see the ref count 3, and Chelsea Green is the one making the pin.
I was so excited, I busted out cackling. Listen, have I not loved Chelsea Green for years?
There's a lot of people that really like Chelsea Green.
Chelsea Green is so good at, her character, and she's not a bad wrestler either. We just don't really get to see that side of her.
No, she's definitely
she's done hardcore matches and everything. She can wrestle, but it's just,
I imagine I imagine she's going to take some nasty bumps.
I picture her being remember whenever CJ Perry, then Lana was in the match, and she just kind of took a lot of bumps. That's what I picture Chelsea Green doing.
Oh, I'm predicting Chelsea Green gets murdered.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking...
yeah.
She's probably going to take the crazy spot of the night.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, and I'm not alone here because I've seen the discourse online too, Chelsea Green would be a great candidate and it kind of sucks to be the first to do this, but Chelsea Green would be a great first candidate to fuck up her cash in.
Yes.
She would be perfect for that.
She would.
Because they keep talking about how the women have not failed yet.
Yes.
Chelsea Green would be the perfect person to fail the first time.
Because she's so good at playing it up when she fails at something.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And to watch her tantrum once she is going to be great. So, yeah.
I don't think she'll win it, though. That'd be awesome if she did. But I don't know, though. They swerved me with everybody that, honestly, I didn't pick, except for Io Sky, none of my picks made it. None of my picks won their qualifier match.
Yeah. You didn't think Jey Uso would win?
Oh, I forgot about him.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forget about Raw because all I can think about with Raw is Wyatt Six.
Yeah. But yeah, Money in the Bank's shaping up to be really fun. Right now, I'm not even sure who else is in the women's match, but right now, I'm really hoping Chelsea Green wins now and fails her cash in.
That would just be great.
Yeah.
And then she could win Money in the Bank in one of her little cheaty ways. She could literally disappear after a really bad spot and then come back and win. So
that, or she could
shove somebody out of the way to win it.
She could get up on Piper Niven's shoulders. And you could do something with this too. Let's say, for example, Chelsea does use Piper Niven to climb up the ladder and get the Money in the Bank briefcase. You could tell a great story about Chelsea Green rubbing it in.
Yeah.
And just rubbing it in and rubbing it in. And what if Piper Niven's the one that fucks up the cash in?
Oh, man, true. Yeah.
You could tell that story.
Yeah.
Because I think now that these two aren't champs, I don't necessarily know if there's a reason to keep them together.
Yeah.
And that, I think, would be...
Together,
they are. But I think that would be a great way to kind of blow that up a little bit. Because I think Chelsea Green could stand on her own.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
the person that might fade away is honestly Piper Niven.
She might, but on the other hand, they gave her name back. She got a title shot in Scotland, so clearly they see value in her, and she usually looks pretty dominant when she wrestles.
Yeah.
Usually when they're teaming up, Chelsea Green's always the one that takes the pin.
Yeah.
So I don't know that Piper Niven would completely disappear. I think they could still find something for her to do. Mm-hmm. This is still where I think NXT had the right idea of, rather than doing women's tag titles, the main roster should really have a women's mid-card title. You could do a women's U.S. champ and a women's Intercontinental champ.
I don't know why it's so difficult for people to book women's tag titles. I don't understand why it's so difficult.
Because you have to have... Because I think it's because women are the minority. Whenever you're booking anyway, you don't nearly have as many women on the roster as you do men.
NXT,
NXT's the lone exception. NXT's kind of an anomaly in this whole thing.
Yeah.
And NXT's cooking its own forbidden door that we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think what it is you just... There's not... And I know you're going to dispute this, and I'm not saying this is how I look at it. I'm just saying this is how it's looked at overall. There's just not space on the card to promote that many women at one time to make them feel credible.
That's fucking laughable.
Well, that's not me. That's what booking is showing.
Laughable. That's laughable. That's laughable. But please continue.
Yeah. It's just crazy to me that we have like 12 hours worth of wrestling every week, and it still feels like NXT's the only ones that like the women are somewhat equally booked.
That we watch, yes.
Of what we watch, yeah.
Yes.
Now, I've heard TNA is kind of the same way. But yeah, I'm excited for Money in the Bank.
Yes.
I think there's some good matches that are going to happen. As far as the men's, I wouldn't be surprised if Jey Uso won because they definitely want him in the main card title picture. He's been there for a while. A lot of people actually have said that they don't think that Jey Uso has the moveset to really be a top of the card kind of guy, that it's his charisma that carries him. And I think in Jey Uso's case, that's enough.
I think he has a good moveset. Just because he had one bad match at WrestleMania.
No, that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about if you watch a Jey Uso match, the most that you see is usually his rock punches that he does where he spits in his hand, and super kicks, Uso splash. Outside of that, he doesn't really do a lot of moves. I think in Jey Uso's case, I
don't even think that should be mentioned though, because you go back to the old day wrestling, they didn't do jack shit with wrestling.
They didn't, and
I think he does just fine.
I think Jey Uso this is going to be a really funny comparison. But I honestly kind of compare Jey Uso as far as ring acumen versus charisma. I kind of view Jey Uso as almost like a Hulk Hogan. Like, his charisma carries him. Like, Hulk Hogan had a very few set of moves that you knew. He had clotheslines, he had his big boot, he had his leg drop, he had his Hulk up. He had a very small set of skills, and he carried himself on his charisma and his presence in the ring. Jey Uso has that. Jey Uso can get a whole building behind him with just 6 moves.
I guess it's a good comparison, but
I'm not comparing him. I'm not comparing him to Terry Bollea.
Is that his real name?
That's Hulk Hogan's real name. I'm not comparing him to Terry Bollea. I'm comparing him to the character of Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
Does that make you swallow it easier?
Yeah, it's just very ironic that you use Hulk Hogan and he's known to be a racist.
It's the best example I can think of.
Okay.
It's the best one I got.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I was thinking of John Cena.
John Cena has a lot more moves in his repertoire, though, especially as he got older.
Oh,
yeah, especially
I feel like his moves are very repetitive, very boring, very safe, very
the same. But during his U.S. Open Challenge back in 2015, he was busting out shit that nobody had seen him do. Like, he was doing top rope moves. He was doing Hurricane Ranas. Like, he was doing crazy shit.
Oh, okay.
Like, Cena, as he got older, developed more moves. It was really weird. That's why everybody loves late stage Cena. Because he went out and, improved and got more. Now he's kind of reverted back, but he's an older attraction wrestler. He doesn't need that moveset anymore. But he did have it for a while.
Okay.
But yeah, and the ability for Jey Uso to get a building behind him is pretty incredible. Like, whenever Jey Uso comes out, the entire building is with him.
Yeah.
And that's a really special skill. I think in that regard, he's only second to Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, and Jey Uso, I think, are the 3 in WWE that when they come out, the entire building is with them. I think it's those 3.
Yeah, and more Otis is starting to happen with
Otis is
currently, but I think that's just story reasons.
Yeah, Otis is getting there due to the story, but that's good. Yeah. You want that with Otis because that's feeding your story.
Yeah.
It's nice when WWE's good, the fans will play along.
WWE's been great.
WWE's been on freaking fire. It's been crazy. And we're not even done talking about them because we have 2 more major debuts to talk about. So, on Monday, not only did the Wyatt Six come back, also to start the show, Seth Rollins is back.
I was happy.
A lot of people were very happy to see Rollins.
I was very happy to see Rollins again.
You were happy Rollins was back, and then you got really excited, and then you were kind of disappointed. So, Rollins came out, and he teased about how he has experience in Money in the Bank and how he's done it before.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh man, Rollins in a Money in the Bank match. That could be really
Yes.
fun. Well, then out comes Damian Priest. And Damian Priest, after I talk about this, I want to talk about the Judgment Day for a minute. Because there's a lot going on. It's been really fun. So Damian Priest comes out. And he's like, you know what? Screw briefcases. Screw all that. Why don't it just be me versus you at Money in the Bank for the world title and just call it at that? And Rollins was like, just like that? It's that easy? And Priest was like, yeah, it's that easy. And Rollins was like, where's your goons? I'm going to get jumped. Rollins has played this before because Rollins feuded with the Judgment Day for like a decade. It felt
yes.
And Priest was like, they don't even know I'm here. They're busy with other shit. Liv Morgan's kind of got everybody on edge over there. So we'll talk about Liv Morgan here in a minute. So Rollins accepted. So we're going to get Rollins and Priest at Money in the Bank for the world title. And that was pretty much the extent of it. Rollins wasn't really on the rest of the show. I was really surprised he didn't end up like a known victim of the Wyatt Six. But as far as we know, he was gone. If that's the case.
True.
Chad Gable might have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Or Chad Gable probably tried to recruit Ramblin' Rabbit to the Alpha Academy and got his head bashed in for it. That's possible. Who knows what Chad Gable did to get himself in that situation. Love Chad Gable so much. But let's talk about the Judgment Day as well. So the Judgment Day has had...
Oh, yeah, that's who I'm representing.
Yeah. The Judgment Day is kind of... I have to give it to WWE and the Judgment Day. A lot of people were worried that the Judgment Day would start to kind of falter once Rhea had to go out.
Yeah.
But they've adjusted really well. First of all, Carlito with the Judgment Day is hilarious.
He just tries so hard to fit in with them.
He does, and
he never says the right thing.
And I love that. Like, he's brought back the cool thing. Like, literally, Liv Morgan was in the locker room, and she sat down. This was last week. She sat down a hotel room key. Well, she gave a hotel room key to Dom, and the Judgment Day stood around it like it was a cursed object on a table. And Dom explained to Carlito what that was, and Carlito just goes, man, that's cool. And Dominic's like, no, it's not cool. Like, and it's just like Carlito's always wrong, but they keep him around. And I'm really glad Carlito's with these guys because I hate to say this, Carlito was really boring with the LWO. He is infinitely more entertaining in his role now.
Yes.
It's like he shaved the mustache and goatee and just let the chin go.
So hard to fit in and be cool.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's been really fun, and it's so funny to refer to like. They're always like, yeah, Carlito's a prospect for the Judgment Day. Carlito is an old vet. Like, he's not a rookie.
Whenever I think prospect, I think of Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, they need to get him like a little proto Judgment Day vest or something that has an apple on it or something like that.
Hopefully he has a better in real life thing than the prospect. God,
yeah.
Sons of Anarchy.
But what was funny about the hotel key was it ended up, like, while everybody was talking, Finn just casually grabbed it without looking and stuffed in his pocket. And, of course, Priest asked him about it this week. He's like, what's up with... And Finn Balor's like, what's it matter? It's gone. No one's got it. But Liv Morgan has just been around Dominic on every turn. She stole his vest this week.
She's so sexual, too.
She is. Which
is not kid-friendly, and I'm very much enjoying it.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people say, like, good Lord, why Dom? Why did Dom attract Rhea and Liv Morgan in story? Like, he looks homeless at this point. Like, and Dominic's been doing a really good job of it. Dominic's going to be a future star. Dominic has really come into his own.
You can
since
tell,
he joined the
You can tell
Day.
this week, though, that he was trying not to laugh at something.
Yeah, it's a very absurd story.
Yes.
But I love the premise that Liv Morgan's like, I'm literally going to take everything. And this is another example of a feud that's being done really well, where there's been no matches. It's kind of been to the detriment of the women's title because Liv doesn't have a contender and they haven't really pushed for one. But that's kind of how they did Rhea as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's weird. They seem to have trouble booking the women's world champ for some reason. Maybe Shawn Michaels needs to help out. I don't know. But I think you could do all this with Liv and still have Liv have an opponent and a challenger.
Yeah.
Especially going into Money in the Bank, Liv's going to have to fight somebody. But the problem is I feel like most of the women's Raw roster is focused on other things. They're either focused on Money in the Bank or they're in the tag division. Mm-hmm. So it is hard to find an opponent for Liv, but she could have one. I mean, you could do Kiana James. That would be a great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Get Kiana James familiar. Get her a good solid match with Liv and go from there.
Yeah.
But I can't deny it's been really fun.
It has been.
To watch this happen because
I get very excited anytime Dom's on the screen. I get excited because I know Liv isn't far behind.
Yeah, Liv's usually lurking somewhere.
Yes, doing her sexual prowling.
And what's funny is I've seen a lot of comments where people have said you need a friend like Finn Balor because Finn Balor shuts it down every time. Finn Balor comes up with his fucking abs and he's like, back off.
Why did you have to mention his abs? Not because he read the Becky Lynch book.
No, because when he shows up, he's just there. You got Dom looking homeless over here, and you've got Finn perfect body form. Back off, my friend. It's great. The Judgment Day has gotten funny, and Priest just doesn't have time for any of this shit. He's like, I'm world champion. Just fucking fix it. And I love how he's just getting more and more agitated. And what's funny about it is Priest is kind of doing his own thing and kind of stepping away from the Judgment Day. But then when he comes back, he's like, guys, fucking get it together. Good Lord. What I'm really excited for is Rhea to come back. When that happens, I can't wait to see where all this is when she comes back. And I can't wait to see what she's going to do to Liv Morgan. It's probably going to be another murder. Yeah. We're going to have 3 murders in WWE in that span. But yeah, the Judgment Day stuff and Liv Morgan, they're killing it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite parts of Raw, and it's usually a multi-segment thing, which is freaking great.
And every time we see Judgment Day in their locker room area, they always have a deadbeat dad thing that I never realized they had.
Yeah, they've had that every time.
I never realized
a little Rey Mysterio action figure holding a sign that says, I'm a deadbeat dad. And it's fun to spot it in the background because it moves. It was on the table with the room key last week. This week it was just sitting on top of something behind them. I think also somebody pointed out that if you look, R-Truth's TV that he left behind is still in there too. WWE is just really fun to watch right now for shit like that. So another debut that happened to WWE this week was with the Bloodline stuff, which we talked about a little earlier with Punk. We ended up culminating in a main event between Cody and Solo Sikoa. And I looked at my phone, and I was like, okay, they're starting this at 9:50. There's no way this is going to be a full match.
They were like, we're going to go late.
Yeah, they were like, we'll stick with it as long as we can. I was like, Fox is not pushing the news, WWE. Come on. So
it ended 2 minutes early.
Yeah, as usual. Yeah. Fox gave them 1 minute, because it usually ends at 9:57. So we have Cody versus Solo, and I told you immediately, I was like, I'm surprised they're doing this. This feels like the SummerSlam match. Mm-hmm. And I think it still might be. Maybe even Money in the Bank. But anyway, Cody and Solo start the match. They brawl for, it goes, maybe 5 minutes?
Not that long, yeah.
Yeah, Cody threw Solo into some stairs. Cody Rhodes really loves the stairs. He loves to use them as a weapon. He loves to throw people in them. Cody Rhodes is a stairs guy.
It's very theatrical, and that's him.
You ain't kidding. So, after a couple minutes, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa come out and attack Cody Rhodes, which I think everybody and their brother predicted was going to happen, because I think Cody and Solo's the SummerSlam match, and I also think it's going to be when Roman returns, which is interesting because earlier in the night, before the match, we saw a backstage segment with Solo and Paul Heyman talking. And Paul Heyman's like, Solo, you've broken so many rules, or he called them commandments, because it's theatrical. He's like, CM Punk was supposed to be hands off. We don't touch CM Punk. Cody Rhodes is supposed to be Roman Reigns' problem. And Solo essentially was like, I'm going to stop you right there. Roman Reigns is not coming back. He said, I only tell you this because I love you, and I think you should know. He's like, but Roman is not coming back. And Paul Heyman just looked like... Paul Heyman looked like he needed a hug after hearing that. So Solo walks out, does his entrance with Cody, and Heyman is just fucking lost. Just walking out there no. Shell-shocked. And the commentary was talking about, they were like, if that's the case, that's going to be really sad for the business. Roman gave so much. And I'm just thinking, no, they're just building up that pop for when Roman comes back. Because it's going to be deafening when he comes back. And I gotta give WWE credit, because there was a rumor for the longest time that at the end of the Bloodline story, Roman was going to be a face. And I was thinking, how the hell does somebody that holds the title hostage for 3 years, barely wrestles, how in the world is he going to get back over with the crowd? It took a week. As soon as Solo said, I'm in charge now, we were all like, nah, none of that. Bring back Roman.
Yeah.
So I got to give credit to WWE. They turned Roman face without him even being there.
Yeah.
Like, what's interesting is one of the things that made him a heel is what's brought him back as a face. His absence.
Yeah.
There's so many levels to that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a testament to Roman. That's a testament to the creative team. That's amazing. Like, when you break it down like that, it's awesome. So anyway, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa come out. They break up the match. Out comes Randy Orton. Kevin Owens hurt his knee earlier in the night. And God bless Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens ran out there with a limp the entire way to the ring. Like, you could tell he comes from the school of selling. So he's just like hobbling along out there. And they even up the numbers. They have Solo cornered. And Solo's looking like, wait a minute, we can talk about this. And then Solo starts maniacally laughing, which is really funny. Because when Solo does his maniacal laugh, his eyes get as big as softballs. And he's just like, like, it's like, what? And then Jacob Fatu comes in he was in MLW. I don't know a ton about Jacob Fatu. What I do know is this dude's a freak.
He was in wasn't he in Bullet Club?
No.
In New Japan? He wasn't?
No, I don't believe so.
Wasn't there a Fatu that was in the Bullet Club in New Japan?
Hikuleo was in the Bullet Club. He's another Samoan that's rumored that WWE's got.
Oh, okay.
So they've got, like, WWE is just hoovering up Samoans from every promotion. Like, I imagine Triple H going around with a Hoover vacuum. I'll take this Samoan, I'll take this one, I'll take this one. Pretty much, like, somebody actually commented last night, they were like, okay, the only way this is going to end is Cody needs to take his hammer from AEW, his sledgehammer, and go bust up the Bloodline factory. Like, that's what's going to happen. So, Jacob Fatu comes out and wastes everyone. He wastes Owens, he wastes Orton, he wastes Cody Rhodes, all by himself. Puts Cody Rhodes through the announce table. Of course, Cody Rhodes looks like he's dead. And everybody's just like, what's going to happen now? And one interesting detail that I saw people point out that I didn't catch the first time is if you watch Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, they even look apprehensive about Jacob Fatu.
Oh.
Like, it's like Solo is recruiting more insane psychopaths. Like, the insane psychopaths he brought in are like, are you sure about this guy? Like, are you for real? So I love the contrast. Roman ran the Bloodline with order and a hierarchy. And Solo runs it with chaos. And it's breaking Paul Heyman's mind. Like, Paul Heyman just cannot process all of this going on. Like, he's lost in the woods. He's latching on to anybody. He's tried to latch on to Owens. He's tried to latch on to CM Punk. He's just trying to latch on to somebody to get him out of this relationship. And I really am thinking at SummerSlam, Solo is probably going to get ready to spike Paul Heyman. And I think that's where Roman comes back. And I think Jimmy Uso comes back with him. I'm thinking SummerSlam is where they're coming back. And I'll tell you right now, I am here for this Bloodline battle, and I am here for it not to take the title hostage. I want Cody to keep that title and just keep trucking. He can defend it against The Rock at Mania if that's what they decide to do. Rock shouldn't win. I hope Rock doesn't win. But Bloodline Civil War, no title on the line, go for it.
Yeah.
Do it in a War Games match. Fuck it. It'd be a great War Games match. I've seen people pitch the teams. I've seen people pitch the teams of Solo, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu, Roman Reigns, the Usos, and Sami Zayn. I don't know that Sami Zayn gets back involved. I don't think he needs to, but it would be kind of fun for that OG Bloodline reunion. I don't think they're going to put Sami in the match, but I do think Sami's going to interact with the OG Bloodline at some point. So, really, really fun stuff. Bloodline story is cooking again. So I'm sitting here waiting for Roman to come back and to see how much chaos is going to be caused before he does. Okay, so last debut that we have to talk about this week is a very, very short-lived one. So NXT has been kind of forbidden dooring with TNA. They had Jordan Grace wrestle at Battleground against Roxanne Perez, which was really cool. It was a great showing. Jordan Grace lost an earlobe for it. And I love that she told the story later that Mick Foley reached out and he was like, hey, if you need advice on how to deal with a missing part of an ear, let me know. It was really cool. Mick Foley is just a big teddy bear of a dude. So NXT starts off with this Battle Royal that Cody Rhodes announced last week on NXT because Cody and Trick shared the ring. And Cody said there's going to be, you're going to know some of the people in there. Some of them are going to come from different locker rooms. So that immediately got things buzzing. So NXT starts, and the very first thing that we hear when NXT comes on the air is, I believe in Joe Hendry, and everybody just goes nuts. Joe Hendry comes out, cuts a promo. I gotta admit, I didn't know much about Joe Hendry. The more I learned, the more I love this guy.
Same. I did not know who he was at all, but you best believe I now have I Believe in Joe Hendry liked on my Spotify.
Like, the dude bought a billboard outside Clash at the Castle with just him on it, doing his turn and smile. And when I saw that, it sent me. It absolutely sent me. So I don't know who Joe Hendry is, but I'm definitely interested in learning more.
Yeah.
But what was funny is he comes out, he cuts this promo about how everybody believes in Joe Hendry. He gets in the Battle Royal, and he's out after 5 seconds.
It was very Chelsea Green-like.
It was. He got in there, and then he was gone.
Yes.
Which was hilarious. I don't know if that's how it normally works out for him. But, TNA, I don't have time to watch TNA.
And we don't have that streaming service. But through the power of YouTube, I'm going to learn more about Joe Hendry. I have to learn more. Like whenever we first discovered Dan Howard.
I know. I have to know more about Joe Hendry. I have to know. If Joe Hendry's ever at Toy Ohio, I'm going back. But anyway, TNA also had another representative that actually made it all the way to the Final Four of the Battle Royal, and that was Frankie Kazarian. And what was crazy about that was they didn't even make a production of Frankie Kazarian. Mm-hmm. He was already in the ring. The only two people that we saw that got entrances were Joe Hendry and Ethan Page. And Ethan Page got an entrance because Oro Mensah took him out, and he never even got into the Battle Royal, which, God bless Ethan Page, he played that up all night. He's like, the Battle Royal's still going on. He's like, I never got eliminated. It's still happening. Like, why is Javon Evans celebrating? I'm still in the match. Which... I feel like they kind of missed an opportunity there at the beginning, because Ethan Page wrestled Javon Evans later that night. It was the main event, and he beat him, which was really cool. Yes, Javon Evans had like the bruised ribs and stuff, but normally in that situation, the number one contender still wins. So I love that Ethan Page got a win there, because he needed one.
Oh, and now he's saying that he beat the number one contender. Yeah. So now he's the number one contender.
But I think, and maybe it happened and maybe I missed it, but I feel like there was an opportunity at the very beginning of the match for Ethan Page to just hurl Javon Evans over the top rope and walk around celebrating and pointing at his smile. Like, I feel like there was a missed opportunity there. But, it happened the way that it happened.
And it's still great to see him there.
So I love that TNA, and the way that TNA is doing it is very cool. Like, they come in, they're not taking over.
Like CMLL did.
Like CMLL, when CMLL came in, they brought like their whole roster with them. And WWE is like, okay, we'll take Jordan Grace for this amount of time. Let's get Joe Hendry and Frankie Kazarian for this, and then we'll see what to do. They're bringing them in pieces.
Yeah, and they're not the main focus of the show.
No, it doesn't feel like any NXT talent are losing time.
NXT talent has gone to TNA also. We had Tatum Paxley go to TNA to fight Jordan Grace. Jordan Grace. I kept wanting to say Ariana Grace.
So, I mean, I hate to keep making this point week after week. But once again, WWE is doing something that AEW was known for, and they're doing it better. Yeah. Like, I don't want to keep dumping on AEW, but we'll talk about AEW in a minute. But yeah, the NXT TNA stuff it's fun. Really fun. Mm-hmm. And I love how, like, Jordan Grace had that thing, like, NXT, NA, that just fits together so well.
It is.
Shawn Michaels is having the time of his life because he's getting to pick and choose people that he wants to wrestle in his promotion, but he doesn't have to necessarily hire them. So that's... and NXT is cooking solid still. Mm-hmm. I say it every week, and I can't say it enough. If you're not giving NXT a chance... You're missing out. I know.
I feel like it's getting better and better every single week.
I know there is a lot of wrestling to catch up with every week, and I'm sure WWE's developmental brand is at the bottom of everybody's priority, but it really shouldn't be.
It's probably one of my favorite shows we watch every week.
Yeah, and it's consistent.
Yeah.
And I love the experimental nature. They do. They will throw anything at the wall to see if it sticks.
The Wyatt Six, honestly, seemed like something that NXT would do.
Yeah.
Don't you?
I could see that. I could see it being something like they would test pilot in NXT.
Yes.
But with that talent and the build-up, that was bound for main roster.
Yeah.
But I could have easily seen NXT being a testing ground.
Yes, yeah. I don't mean I don't mean having the Wyatt Six do it there. I mean, I could see them doing that in some capacity.
Yeah.
Because they're always trying new things there.
They are. And it's just been really cool for us as, because if you've followed our channel from the beginning, we've been big Ethan Page people from the beginning. And it's just really cool to see him in a spotlight and in a spot like this where he's treated like such a big deal.
The fact that we have met Ethan Page through meet and greet so much that Ethan Page knew Chris. He knew him. So it's just, he's always just been such a nice guy.
Yeah.
So friendly and so awesome. So it's just nice to see somebody that was that nice do well.
Yeah, and to come into NXT and be treated like a big deal that he has. It's been really cool, and I'm so happy for him for that.
Yes.
But yeah, that's my elevator speech. If you're not giving NXT a chance, try. I hate to say it, but cut Collision or something and give NXT a shot and see what you think. Speaking of which, when we talk about AEW in a minute, just a disclaimer, we had a power outage one night, which set us behind, and
then I had crazy work this week.
Yeah, so we did not get to catch up with Collision, so anything that happened on Collision, we don't know. I still need to go find out what Christian Cage did for his Father's Day celebration. That was the one thing I was looking forward to.
I love Christian Cage.
But we will get there. Actually, I think we're good to go ahead and wrap this up and talk about AEW.
All right.
AEW is in Forbidden Door season, and their ratings are down. We don't talk about ratings a lot on here, but I think it's pretty alarming that Dynamite this week only did 500,000. This point last year, they did 900-some thousand on Dynamite. And I researched a lot of people's theories. Of course, shitty booking is always one that comes up. I think the prevailing theory right now that people might be right on is that Forbidden Door is really hard for casuals to get into because, you're hearing about CMLL, New Japan. You and I know some of these people, maybe because they've appeared on AEW TV before. But we don't know anything about CMLL. We don't know anything about what's going on in New Japan. We know who Zack Sabre Jr. is.
Yeah.
And I think the issue is, for me at least, is they were doing the CMLL invasion a little bit ago. It feels like anymore AEW is in constant Forbidden Door mode. I think is part of the problem. I feel like for the last 3 or 4 months, every episode of Dynamite or Collision has had at least one person on it that they treat like a big deal and give a 15-minute match to, and I'm just like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue. That AEW is just not... The stories aren't hitting because they're more focused, and Matt Hardy has said it. It's kind of been alluded to by several people. Frankie Kazarian kind of said the same thing. AEW does not seem to be interested at all in telling stories. They're interested in seeing how many 5-star matches they can put on, which is fine, but stories is what keeps people coming back. I mean, you look at AEW this week on Dynamite, and they're just pushing, Forbidden Door, this dude's going to fight this person because they're coming from another promotion. And meanwhile, WWE's got murder going on. Now, what am I going to be more inclined to tune into next week to see what happens? Am I going to want to tune in next week to see what rando from CMLL, no disrespect, but what rando from CMLL is going to fight somebody on AEW for 15 minutes? Or do I want to know how WWE responds to multiple mass murder? It kind of tells itself. That being said, for this week and last week, I think AEW needs to build itself around Mark Briscoe. Because that dude is giving 150,000% in the 2 promos that he's gotten last week and this week. And it's funny because he gets going, and Kyle O'Reilly's trying to keep it together. Orange Cassidy's trying to keep it together. Renee Paquette is somehow keeping a straight face, and I don't know how. I don't know if she has a thumbtack in her shoes she keeps stepping on or what to keep from breaking. But Mark Briscoe is absolutely killing it. And Mark Briscoe right now is the Ring of Honor World Champion, which is great for him. I'm sure that means a lot to him because him and his brother wrestle for Ring of Honor so much. Put Mark Briscoe on TV and put him on there regularly. That is a character that I will tune in to see. Because that dude is just off his rocker, and I love it. I absolutely love it. So, yeah, AEW, push people like that more. But I think it's just, I hate to say it, AEW is what brought us back to wrestling, but I feel disconnected from it more and more every week.
It's the one that I'm least excited to watch every week.
Which really sucks, because that was, at one point in time, like, AEW for us was like, can't miss. Like, oh my god, I can't wait. Yeah. WWE was the one that was like, well, I guess we should watch this.
Yeah.
Even when we first came back, we only watched AEW. Mm-hmm. But as it's gone on, I feel more and more disconnected.
Yeah.
And what's sad about it is Tony Khan has come out and said all these things like, yeah, I book for the matches, I book for the sickos, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. For wanting to be an alternative to WWE, Tony Khan is definitely closing his ears and la-la-lying like Vince McMahon would.
Yeah.
And I think that's concerning. I think that's very concerning. That AEW is starting to feel like WWE did, where AEW is performing for an audience of one person. Yeah. In this case, that one person is Tony Khan. If Tony Khan likes it and thinks it's cool, that's what we're doing. But it's not resonating with the rest of us. Like, Tony Khan is slowly morphing into Vince McMahon. Just a nicer version.
Just not put on people's...
Yeah. But say what you will about Vince, Vince would put his foot down and say, this is how this is going to go. This is what we're doing. This is where it's going. And
he might put other shit down, though, too.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to give that man any
but what I'm saying is Tony Khan, I think, needs people around him that will say, Tony, this isn't working. We need to recalibrate. We need to regroup. Because what they're doing is the way that the ratings are falling, they're falling in such a way that it's going to be really hard to get people to come back. Like, so many people have fallen off. Like, a lot of people said it was CM Punk that took people away. That might have been the case. But they're dropping much faster than even after CM Punk left. And CM Punk was there when the decline started, so I don't necessarily... I think losing CM Punk did hurt them, but I don't think it's hurt them to the extent that their numbers are at this point now. Because they were still riding around 800,000 even after Punk left. But to be down to 500,000, that's... They're hemorrhaging fans, and that's not good. You know, it's... Wrestling is best when all of its companies are succeeding, when the talent have places to go, to have an equal opportunity for exposure. And WWE is just pounding them in the dirt. Like, it's just, like, WWE's even started forbidden dooring. And if WWE is the hot one right now, and AEW is on the decline, and WWE calls New Japan and says, hey, do you want to work with us? Yeah. AEW's in big damn trouble. Yes, they are. They're in big trouble. At this point, I don't know how you fix it, because you can't... Yes, you could start to book it and bring people back. WWE did that. But it took Vince McMahon leaving for people to give WWE another chance to that extent. They didn't have the sellouts and the buzz that they had while Vince was still there, even when Vince's role diminished. Once Vince was all the way gone and there was no way he had any fingerprints, that's what brought everybody back. And I think for AEW, that's what's got to happen. They've got to have a shift where they're like, okay, Tony Khan's not booking this anymore. This person's booking this. And now there's rumors circling about that Shane McMahon might be working for AEW at some point. Tony Khan is like, I've never met him, but there's sources that are saying that Shane McMahon has called talent to recruit them to AEW. So there's a storm around AEW right now, and I don't know where the lightning's striking. I don't know where it's happening, but it definitely feels like AEW's in a spiral, and it's really sad for a company that, you know, so many people were behind when they started, so many people were excited for, and they came out of the gate so hot, and now it's just like, I hate to say, it's a chore to get through. And that's really sad, because there's a lot of people on AEW I really, really like. Swerve is the world champion, and Swerve feels like second fiddle. Yeah. So Swerve feels like third fiddle, because MJF came back, and MJF's kind of done his thing. They put MJF in a feud with Roosh, and MJF's return match was the Dynamite that brought in 500,000. That's crazy. MJF was their draw.
Yeah.
He was the person that made them stand out from WWE, and hit the prospect of his return match, opening the show, commercial free, was not enough to get people to come in. That's not good.
They don't do a very good job of like even advertising though either.
No,
they don't have very good marketing skills.
No,
in AEW.
the commercials for Dynamite are all generic. Mm-hmm. It just shows a bunch of wrestlers that maybe they'll be on it, maybe they won't.
Yes.
And they don't advertise anything that's coming up. Like, whenever you watch a Raw or SmackDown commercial, they'll do like a mini recap of like, this is what happened last week. What's going to happen this week? Find out on SmackDown.
Yeah.
There's investment there. There's the story's being told right there. Like, hey, you may not have watched us. Here's what's going on. Here's when you can tune in if you want to find out more.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, the reason that happens, that doesn't happen for AEW, is because the stories change so frequently. Like, Wardlow has disappeared again.
Right?
Wardlow's never with the Undisputed Kingdom. It was a big deal that he joined them, and now he's gone again. Like, I don't know that Tony Khan has fucked anybody over more than he's fucked over Wardlow.
Yeah, because he gets hot, and then Tony Khan messes it up. He gets hot, and Tony Khan messes it up.
The crowd wants to root for Wardlow.
Yeah.
Everybody likes Wardlow.
Yes.
I like Wardlow.
Yes.
And he comes and goes. And that's unfortunate. I hope Wardlow goes to NXT, because NXT will treat him like the monster that he is, and he will run that shit.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Before, we were pitching like, oh, look how good these people would do at AEW, and now it's just like the idea of Ricochet going to AEW should be exciting. You and I both said he'll have a couple really cool matches and he'll disappear.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's starting, I feel like it's starting to become unfixable, which is really, really sad. I really, really want AEW to succeed, but you've got to give me something. You've got to give me more than, look, CMLL's here. Cool.
I know.
They're all cool. They all wrestle really well.
Disrespect for CMLL, but I don't know who anybody is, and that makes me not care.
Yeah. Yeah, you can give me a video package, but it's against all these other people that I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you have to give me something I'm familiar with. Like, when WWE brings in, like, the TNA people, that makes sense, because they... they're like, this is this person, this is what they've done, this is what they do. Then they come out. Yes, it's against other TNA people, but I also don't have to learn 16 TNA people at once. I have to learn one.
Yeah.
One. And WWE will give me most of what they want me to know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, AEW just makes me sad these days.
Yeah.
It's just, like, do better. Start booking for more than an audience of one. Tell some stories, get some things going. There's some things that they're trying. The Elite story is fine, but it's just not hitting. And I
like the Elite story.
Mm-hmm.
I like Tony Storm's story.
Mm-hmm.
I like those.
There are stories being told, but nothing feels massive.
I know.
And I think that's the issue. Like, when WWE was cooking, the Bloodline felt massive. Punk and McIntyre feels massive.
The one thing that I do love that we didn't mention is Okada and the bitch.
Yeah. But see, there's even people talking about how, like, WWE has done fuck all with Okada since he got there. They made him a comedy mid-card heel.
You mean AEW?
Yeah. They made him a mid-card comedy heel when he's, like one of the best wrestlers in the world, and he hardly ever wrestles. So that people were like, even, like, Okada's lost his shine since he's gotten to AEW. The only free agent that they've seemed to push, they pushed Mercedes. They pushed Mercedes also right into a mid-card title. Which is fine. I mean, your title should feel valuable, but, it was at the point where Mercedes Moné was cutting long promos, getting long interview segments, and Tony Storm, as the world champion, was just kind of here and there. Now we've kind of switched back around where Mercedes Moné's kind of in the background because she's got a Forbidden Door thing coming. And Tony Storm has a Forbidden Door thing coming. But I got to give credit to the Tony Storm stuff. The Mina Shirakawa makes sense because of the Mariah May connection. That was done right. There you go. That was done correctly.
Yeah.
That worked. But, everything else just... it's just not hitting. And, you know, I still see the question asked every week, are the Blackpool Combat Club good guys or bad guys this week? Because some weeks they act like good guys and some weeks they act like bad guys.
That stuff doesn't bug me. I don't care to know if they're good guys or bad guys. I'm okay if they're in between. I don't obsess about it like people do.
I think that's where they live, but I think the problem is whenever they're being face, they're acting mega face, and when they're being heel, they act mega heel. They're not acting like tweeners. They're
wilding out. They're wilding out.
It's one extreme to the other.
Yes.
One extreme to the other. There's no middle ground. They should be in the middle ground. They're nowhere near the middle ground.
Yes.
And it's difficult because you got Moxley out there killing people. It seems like he should be a heel, but he has the crowd behind him. Bryan Danielson's on his farewell tour. Nobody's booing Bryan Danielson on his farewell tour. That's just not going to happen.
No.
And Claudio and Wheeler, you know, Claudio sometimes works a heel match, sometimes he works a face match. It just depends what Claudio wants to do.
But Claudio did something really funny this week. He threw a trash can that had trash in it, so then him and a fan cleaned up the trash. And then Claudio just looked at the camera and was just like... and that's funny.
Yeah. And I'm not sure what Wheeler Yuta's doing at this point.
I don't know.
He still has the look on his face of, like, little shit, but that could just be Wheeler Yuta. But yeah, AEW needs help. It doesn't need another promotion. It doesn't need more pay-per-views. It needs a defined set of wrestlers telling a consistent story from week to week. You got to know when you're going to an AEW show, you've got to know who you're getting. And they don't announce, then they announce the cards like it's kind of the opposite of WWE. WWE only announces 2 or 3 things, but you know who you're going to see week to week. Like if you and I would go to Raw this week, we have a pretty good idea. We could probably guess 90% of the wrestlers we're going to see. Mm-hmm. With AEW, not so much.
Yeah.
Like, if we buy a ticket for AEW for a show next month, we could go, and we may not get MJF. We may not get Orange Cassidy. We may not get the Blackpool Combat Club. We may get a bunch of people that we don't know in Chris Jericho. That may be what we end up with.
Yeah.
And you can't keep doing that and expect people to buy tickets in advance. It works for All In, because it's the only time you're in England that year, and they know you're bringing the big guns. They know that. But for everything else, not so much. Even the pay-per-views, you're not sure if you're going to get, you know, your major players or not.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes.
Well, that's going to do it for our show this week. Main message.
Enough with the negativity.
Yeah, but AEW just keeps bringing it out.
Wrestling's supposed to be fun.
It is. It's supposed to be fun and a good time, and WWE's bringing that, and AEW does bring that in doses. It's just not as overall fun as it once was.
Yeah.
But that being said,
we literally were talking about AEW and I kept yawning.
Like, it's not good.
AEW and Jacob Fatu, I yawned through that.
Oh, man. Well, anyway, that's going to do it for this week. So hopefully we're back on a more consistent basis at this point. So we'll be back next week to talk about how things shook out with the murder that happened on Raw. And what's going to be done. Adam Pearce, I'm sure, is answering questions as we speak in the kayfabe world.
Yes.
But don't forget to find us on the socials at Married with Wrestling on Facebook and YouTube. Shows air every Sunday to cover the previous week, except for Collision. Collision is the episode before. So that's your timeline there. The videos, I know they don't come out at a consistent time. We try to do our best, but we get them out when we can. Just make sure you turn on your notifications, then you know.
Yes.
For the most part.
But anyway.
Like, subscribe, leave a comment. You know, if there's something you want us to weigh in on, go for it. If there's a match or a show you want to recommend to us, you know, go for it. You know, I've seen a lot of people recommending me the Athena stuff until Athena went down. Looks like Athena's going to be out 4 to 6 months. That really sucks for Athena. But I'm fine with Athena coming back to AEW and ruling the rooster for there. Mm-hmm. Maybe bringing Athena in will help them. Mm-hmm. But yes, we will talk to you guys next week.
Yes. Bye.